Welcome back to the channel. We're playing 20 questions with
Tim Crowe with Turnt Pen Co.
All right, let's get into the questions. When I say fountain pen, what pen do you think of?
That's a tough one. I think I had watched a few of your episodes and I was kind of considering this, and it's like, since I had that preview, I thought of all the pens, but I think that the first one that comes to mind would be the first custom pen that I ever had. The first time I, sought out a custom made pen and a unique resin. And that was, I don't know what the material is called. It was way before I made pens or materials or anything else. It's like an abalone style material, but it's from Bone Crusher 7 Studios.
Okay.
It was the first custom pen I ever got, and I still have it and I still love it. So I think that's my answer for that one.
That's the thing. We're 100 episodes in almost. Very few times are these a new experience for anyone, unlike the first season where no one knew what they were walking into.
Right.
Very rare I get to walk into a blind episode these days. How did you get into pens?
So I started by collecting them after I got that first one from James at Bone Crusher. I liked them more and more, and I thought to myself, I'd like to try to make these things. And I ultimately posted on like a Facebook makers group. Like, does anybody have any pointers, any literature I can go check out? And Greg Hardy of Hardy Penwrights, who recently passed, he had known my dad. My dad's student taught in his classroom, and I didn't know Greg at the time, but my dad had student taught under Greg when they were both teachers, and it turned out Greg lived about a half hour from me. So when I made that post, within a day or so, I had an invite to Greg's house, and he stood next to me for 8 or 10 hours while I made my very first custom pen. He walked me through every step of the process, and I think that story really reflects the type of guy that Greg was. But that's how I got into it. I posted on Facebook, and Greg Hardy took me to a shop. Like, it was very cool. And I was very lucky that A, he was willing to do it, and B, that, he saw the post and invited me up. It was pretty cool.
That is a very good introduction to the pen world.
Yeah. For, one of the best makers to have made, in my opinion, and just an all around great guy, and clearly very generous with his time, because I'm sure there's a million other things that he could have been doing, but he stood to my right and told me every step of the process. It was very cool. And from there, like 5-6 years after that day, Greg became a great friend and a great mentor too, and I would always be bouncing questions off him.
So you've already talked about what your first pen was from Bone Crusher Studios. Are there any other pens that stand out from your early days in the pen world?
Well, that was actually that was my first custom pen, but it wasn't my very first fountain pen. When I was in college at Fredonia State University, it's in Western New York, kind of near Buffalo on that side of the state. I was at a thrift store. I don't remember if it was Savers or Salvation Army or what it was, but I bought a fountain pen at a thrift store. And I thought it was pretty cool, and I didn't know where to look for ink. So, I Googled it. I found something, no idea what ink I got or anything like that. But I used it for a little bit until it blew up in my pocket. I have no idea what it was or anything else, but I went to pull it out for class one day while I was sitting at my desk, and my hand was covered in ink and my jeans were stained with ink, and I had to borrow a pen from someone else. And then I didn't touch a fountain pen for a very long time. But that was my very first experience.
What's your current daily driver?
Lately I've been using one that I made. I don't know how well you can see it in the dark. It's just, one of my standard models. It's an Orwell 13. I've been using that. Mainly that's the one that's like in the little loop in my notebook. But I have a few others that I use pretty regularly. Not all in here. I got a Pelican M600, one of the white ones. It's pretty cool. Then I've got a Platinum Preppy that, I'm fond of those. And then
they're very reliable.
Yeah, they're great. And I like that you can dropper fill them. So I just I work at a school, and at the start of the school year, I eyedropper, 4 or 5 preppies, and I'm pretty much set for the year. And if they happen to come up missing, it's not the end of the world. Kids like them, and sometimes they end up missing. Can't blame the kids. I mean, they're pretty sweet. Fountain pens are cool.
They're cool.
Yeah.
What is your favorite ink?
I don't know how to pronounce the brand correctly. I call it R&K, Rower and Klinger.
Yeah, that's how okay. That's what I call it.
Yeah, R&K, Salix and Verdigris, I think it's pronounced.
Okay.
And then I like the green one too, and I have no idea what that's called. But I like those. I like that they're, at least semi-permanent. Like if I spill something across my desk, I can still make out what was written there. And those have been my favorite. They shade okay. I like shading. So those are the ones I tend to go to.
What is your favorite brand of either pens or ink?
For ink, it's the R&K. Although I did just get, I think they're new. Diamine just came out with some permanent ink stuff. Forever Ink, I think they call it. And those are pretty cool. I got an aqua something, aqua beach or something like that. I don't know. But that one's pretty cool. I would say though, R&K is my favorite ink, but I like Diamine a lot too for the vastness of their color selections, and they have all sorts of cool properties and stuff. So if I'm feeling fancy, maybe I'll go Diamine. But day to day R&K. For pens, it's tough. I think my collection, when I first started, before I made pens and stuff, my collection was kind of a mix, starting with the Bone Crusher thing, and then I would get some big brands and some small brands and things like that. But since I started making blanks, my collection's really shifted to pens in my materials from other pen makers or ones I make myself, but primarily other pen makers. So really any custom made pen from a smaller maker or a mid-sized maker is really for me. Those are my favorite ones. It's so cool to see all the different things that so many folks are doing with, a stick of plastic and all these creative things they're doing. So really anything from a smaller maker is gonna hit home for me. I really enjoy those. Right. If I named just one, I'd feel terrible because I'm friends with most of these guys too.
That's fair. I think I had somebody rhyme off as many small shops as they could think of in an episode recently.
Nice. I don't know if I'm creative or talented enough to rhyme them all off, but I know that if I started saying names, we'd end the Zoom and I'd be like, oh, I forgot to mention such and such.
I look forward to the hurt feelings in the comments with whoever has been forgotten, because somebody will have been. Vintage or modern?
Modern for sure. I have a couple of vintage things. I got a couple Parker 51s, but that's the extent of it. I actually, on Facebook Marketplace or one of those things, I bought a lot of vintage fountain pens, and there's this really cool I think it's a Pilot, but I totally recognize it. It's those the orange ones. Did Pilot make the famous orange ones? Do I need to just see if I can grab it? But anyways,
sure. If you want to grab it, go grab it. Cause
my case is over there, but I don't know if they're. I don't. Give me 1 sec. All right, so I couldn't find the specific pen, but the moral of the story, the point of the story, is that I bought all these vintage fountain pens off of this Facebook thing, and none of them worked, and that was my foray into vintage stuff. So it was a lot, and the person selling it didn't know if they worked or not. They didn't claim that they did work, but none of them did, and I don't think I've purchased a vintage fountain pen since. So definitely modern.
Do you swatch all your inks?
I started doing that. I had one of those color ring things. I started doing that. Yeah. Oh, you've got, how many is it? 8, 9 over there?
I have too many.
Too many. That's fair.
Let's go with too many. Because also I've consolidated rings. I had too many up on the wall, and so each of those no longer has 50 cards on it. They've got closer to 100 to 150 cards on it. So it's actually 3 cola rings together.
Whoa. So I think there's 9 over there. That's 27 of them. Right?
Yeah, something like that.
It's impressive. No, I started doing that, and it was fun. And then, it was one of those things where it's it's like journaling for me. I start the year strong. I journal for January, and then I journal for half of February and a third of March, and so on and so forth.
I
Right? Like,
die somewhere around March, somewhere around like 7 feet of snow. I'm like, maybe journaling isn't for me.
right. That's how I feel too, and it's a similar thing that happened with the colorings and the swatching. Like I loved it, and it was fun, and it was so cool to see all the different inks. And then I'd forget, or it wouldn't happen, or I'd get, you know, sometimes when I place an order, I'm like, I'm going to try this and this and that, and then like 10 inks come, and I don't know where to start, and it just kind of fell off.
I make it really inconvenient for myself, which is bottles go in the middle of my desk when they come into the office and do not move until they're swatched.
Oh,
So
that's a good
I
good system.
I cannot use my desk until I've swatched ink.
Well, it's a good way to like force yourself to like make sure something that you want to happen happens, though. Like nothing else is happening until this gets done, and
Yeah,
that's that.
it's like this gets done and then I get my desk back. But
That's
there
a
are
good method.
steps.
I might have to try that. That's a good idea.
Do any pens always get the same ink or do you switch it up?
I switch it up, I would say. A lot of times I'll try to, match up a pen with a colorful ink. But for those solid color ones like that Pelican, that pretty much always has an R and K in it. I have another that I use a lot from Hogtown pens. It's just solid black. We did a trade for that one. Like he needed a bunch of black blanks, and rather than him buying the blanks and then me buying a pen, he made me a just solid black pen, and it still works for the collection because it's technically my material, even though it's just black. And I use that one a lot, and that one pretty much always has the R&K green one in it, and it's got a fine sig nib from Franklin Christoph in it, which I love. But with a colorful pen with a cool pattern, I always try to, match them up a little bit.
Do you keep your nib writing samples so you know how every pen writes, or do you just know the nib in every pen?
I always write with them a lot and write like, Sphinx of Black chords dredge my vowel a lot and things like that. But I wouldn't say I know, and I don't keep them, and I don't always know. But the ones that are in rotation the most, I generally know what's in there. Or sometimes if I'm feeling something different, especially if it's a maker pen, I can just switch out the nib. So I'll often do that too.
All the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I've actually been in the one that I showed you earlier. Um,
I
that I'm
just
in
have vials of nibs.
vials of nibs. Nice. Are now
And
are they ground mostly? Are they
some of
unique?
them are ground, some of them are just like things I've pulled out of pens because pens have custom grinds in them.
Oh, okay.
So if a custom grind is in a pen, then that nib that was in the pen is in the vial the custom grind normally lives in.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that
that
makes sense.
everything loops back to itself.
Yeah,
And then
I
I've
like
also just got a bazillion spare nibs for grinds.
that. Nice, nice. I love what the nib grinders do, and I only go to DC. I work with Damien Alomar a lot. Like when I send them out, I generally send them to him. But I definitely want to explore and see some other unique grinds because they all have like their own. They can all do those standard grinds, but then they all have
Mhm.
really cool, unique things they do too. And I gotta maybe in DC next year because that's my only show. I'll make it a point to try to get out more to more grinders because it's amazing what they do. And I know if I even made like the smallest attempt at it, it would like explode in my hands, and I would be without a nib. So you know, um, but I love what those folks do, and I definitely like to explore that further.
What is your current grail?
That's a tough one. I really like the Nikaya dorsal fin too. I like those a lot. And Nikaya, they used to have, I don't know what it's called or anything. I'm really bad with names, but they used to have one that was like a tealy color that I don't think they make anymore. Do you know what I'm talking about? You're
Yep,
not. So, okay, yeah. Do you remember what it's called? I don't
no
remember.
idea. I'm awful at names, but if you
Yeah.
like tell me colors, I'm great.
Well, the teal one was really cool, but from what I understand, like with reading on Reddit and discussion forums and things, they don't do that color anymore. But if I could get a dorsal fin too, or really any Nikai in that color, that would be super cool. So I would go with that. I would say that would be my number one.
What is the pen you wish you'd see in person?
I saw you ask somebody this, and the the You know the Montegrappa that Sylvester Stallone was the spokesman for?
The chaos.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not because I think it's cool. Like I don't want to see it because I think it's awesome. I would just want to see it. Like I struggle to believe it's real. It's
So
just so crazy.
I've now seen the chaos, and
Okay.
I've seen and I've held Drew Brown's pirate, which I agree with Drew is the cooler version of the chaos
Okay.
because on top of everything the chaos has, it also has a sword.
Oh,
And
well,
like it's so much cooler. It's got a sword.
well, swords do make everything better. I feel like this is a well-established fact. Um, but that's cool. No, the chaos is just crazy.
The
Like,
chaos is insane.
yeah.
Like it is. I don't understand how you write with them. I think they're
No.
just pretty display pieces. I think the pirate is just a pretty display piece.
Was Drew writing with it? Was he?
Oh no, Drew traded for something for it at DC
Oh, really? Okay.
and then brought it over to me and went, "Do you want to film with it?" And so I got to film with a pen that he'd owned for all of like 20 minutes.
Oh, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Um, it is super heavy, it is super uncomfortable, and it's super cool.
Right. Like it's wild. It's like I've only seen pictures, obviously, but it's like the largest hunk of very detailed metal. Like it's crazy. And I
Crazy.
and now if I had whatever they are, $5,000 to drop on a pen, which I don't, but if I did, that's not where I would go. But like, it's it's just wild. And if I
Yeah.
could see it like directly from Sylvester Stallone, like that would make it even better.
What pen would you recommend to a beginner?
A preppy, yeah, definitely a preppy. I still like them, and I've been at it for a bit. I think they're great.
What ink would you recommend to a beginner?
Whatever ink comes in the preppy, they come with those little cartridges in them. If somebody's like, oh, I want to buy some ink, I don't know what ink I should buy. Um, I feel like find something that like catches your eye. If you go to any of the retailers' websites and just start with 1,000 bottles of ink in front of you, find one that you're like, that sounds cool. That would be my suggestion on that front. But like I've given like students and stuff preppies, and I was just kind of push that one in there because then you can get writing right away.
Yeah.
I'd worry if somebody's just starting and they didn't have ink but they had the pen. By the time that ink finally came in, maybe they wouldn't know what to do, or they wouldn't be as excited about it. So the quicker they can get writing, I think the better.
What advice do you have for somebody wanting to try out fountain pens who might be a bit intimidated by them?
Just go for it. I think once somebody writes with them, they realize it's not doesn't have to be intimidating. But I definitely, I've seen people who are very like, I don't know, like I'm writing and somebody will ask about it, I'll be like, oh, give it a try, and they kind of standoffish about it. They're like, I don't want to do anything or hurt it. It's like, I'm not gonna hurt it. Just don't push down super hard. It's gonna be fine. Um, but yeah, I would say just dive in, get something that you think is interesting looking, or that won't break the bank, but will give you the opportunity to give it a go. And I feel like almost everyone who does that ends up really enjoying it. I feel like modern times have kind of, but people aren't writing things down generally as often, even taking notes and stuff. So I think it gets people into that physical writing thing a lot, which I think is important.
Yeah. I would say often I'm one of a few people taking pen and paper notes in meetings.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Even like I said, I worked at a school. Well, last year I was a teacher. This year I'll be the librarian. But um, even kids in class very rarely do they take notes. They're either typing or not taking notes. But it's it's it is rare to see handwriting, and I've seen you know the quality has gone down, and studies show that you're better at retaining information when you write it physically than when you click a button on a keyboard. And um, I think it's important that people have that. And I think fountain pens are a great way to get somebody who's not interested really in writing things down more interested in it, because it makes writing fun again.
Yeah, it does. What filling mechanism do you think is the most interesting, regardless of if you actually like to use it or not?
I think vacuums are pretty cool. I like piston fillers, but vacuums are, especially like a transparent bodied vacuum filler where you can like watch it go. I think those are the best. I actually got one in DC. It's the second one I have, but the first one where I could see it happening, um, and it's pretty awesome. I think
Yeah,
those are
they're really cool. What nib size do you prefer to write with?
uh, extra fine, or extra fine. Yeah, finer the better in many regards for me. I've been using Osprey extra fines lately. They have I offer them with my pens. They can go either Yovo or Osprey, um, but their extra fine is pretty cool, and I've been using it, and they fit right in a. Well, some of them fit right in a Yovo section. You know what I mean? So there's you just it's swap it as easily as you would a Yovo medium with a Yovo fine. You know,
Wow. Is there a style of nib you love or find interesting but would never actually use?
flex nibs, and it's not for lack of trying. I'm just really bad at it. So like I have one, and it's the idea is so cool, and people who know what they're doing, they write so well, and it's like beautiful, calligraphy style handwriting. But I can't seem to. I need more practice. We'll say I need more practice. But I have one in one of those little vials over there somewhere from the. Um, there's a guy who does them. I forget his name. Leo? No. Either way, um, it's a great nib. I just don't know what I'm doing with it. So
Do you always use the same paper? If so, what paper? If not, what paper's your favorite?
I pretty much always use Rhodia for like notepads and stuff, and then I have a um, Hobonichi cousin that I use for like my to do lists and things like that. So, but that's Tomo River. I'm probably saying it wrong, but I think those are right. Tomo River,
Yeah,
and
I
then
think so.
the Rhodia notepads. Those are the two that I use the most. And then at work, just copy paper. That's another nice thing about the R&K inks is the ones that I tend to use, they don't feather and they don't go through the paper that my school buys. So I'm still able to use fountain pens on that, which is nice.
All right. And final question. What is your least favorite ink or ink color family?
My least favorite ink, I'd say color family. I never use black. It might be the only color that I never, ever, ever use. I just don't like that when I'm writing on something that already has black ink on it that it's the same color. That's the main reason. It's not that I like have anything against black ink for what it is. It just doesn't stand out enough for me. So I would go with that. Yeah, black inks. I like gray. Gray's cool, but if it's like just a solid black, it's not my thing.
Well, thanks for playing 20 questions.
Yeah, thanks for having me. That was a lot of fun, and I really appreciate it.